feel that we need to have a conversation. Like, let's just sit down, have a little heart to heart. It's been some things on my mind lately. And the first thing on my mind is really getting off the fact that nobody out here that I've noticed, especially POC, is speaking about mental health. And by mental health, this relation, today I want to talk about HIV. I am 7 years positive of HIV, and it's something I very much so embrace. And I feel that anyone else who is HIV positive or who has AIDS even should embrace as well. It's not something that, makes you. It doesn't define you at all, but it is part of your well-being. And I sit here 7 years later till this day, very much so healthy and proud of who I am and what I've accomplished in life. And I'm gonna just give you a whole backstory with it. So yes, it's gonna be a little story time, I guess you should say. Let's get right into it. This all started back around late October, early November time of 2013. Now, during this time, I was already with a partner who is HIV positive himself. Before we even got together, before we started talking, he was very upfront with me, which I very much so appreciated. So I just knew to be cautious and careful. Around late October, early November time, I noticed some signs. Now, I naturally have a very high metabolism. However, with this, it was a little scary. Usually, I go up and down with my weight of like 5 to 10 pounds, okay? Every month and a half. This was different because instead of 5 to 10 pounds within a month and a half, I went down 25 pounds. And I was like, what is going on? The first initial thing I had in my head was that I potentially could have had cancer. Now, why that was the first thing in my head and not anything else, don't ask me. It literally was just something that popped in my head. Granted, yes, cancer is something that runs in my family, so that could have been part of the reason, but initially that was just, like I said, cancer was just the only first forefront thing in my mind, and it was very scary. Come December time in 2013, I was noticing I was becoming more and more drained and just out of energy. I'm going up one flight of stairs and I'm just feeling completely winded. Mind you, majority of my life, I was very physically active. Whether that be, just regular cardio, walking, running outside, or, playing basketball for fun with friends or anything for that matter, for fun with friends, going skating. I was active. So it was very shocking for me to go up a flight of stairs and just be winded. So I knew something was wrong, yet and still I did not want to go to a doctor because I knew that if I did go to a doctor and I did come back being diagnosed with cancer, I just wouldn't been able to live with myself. That was my mental state during that time. Moving forward, also during this time, I had very, very swollen glands. And around this time, again, it was December, my glands were very swollen. I mean, the size of this. I was always in my head about it when I noticed. I feel like you're your worst critic when it comes to, or you can be your worst critic when it comes to your looks and noticing different things, the smallest things. And for me, I'm that kind of person. I really notice the smallest things, but in this case with my glands, no. They were very swollen. I never experienced anything like that. Yes, your glands can be swollen like when you're sick, but not to the point where they were. At least when you're dealing with a cold, they're not super swollen. where it's obvious. So January time, things just came worse. I was in my head a lot, and I was very depressed because in my mind at this point I knew it had to be cancer. If it wasn't cancer, I was like, this actually could be HIV, but I just refuse to see anybody right now until I'm in the right mental space to go in and find out the truth to everything. So in January 2014, I was at that point where I'm still not ready to see a doctor. I'm still not ready to go out and get tested for anything, for that matter, whether it had been cancer or HIV or anything else. I was not ready. I really wasn't. And February came. February 7th, to be exact. And I remember this specific day, I just woke up and I said, you know what, Charlie, you have to come to terms with yourself on things. And if you're going to be honest with yourself and finding out whatever it is that you need to find out that's wrong with you and, your health, you need to do it now. It's not only important for you, it's the most important to you, as it should be, but it also is important to who your partner is. That was going on in my mind. I was like, I don't want to have to put myself through this, but also put my partner through this, who is seeing me daily. It's like pain and like emotionally, mentally. So I said, I'm gonna go. Mind you, during this whole time, I did not do any kind of research of any sort, whether like signs, symptoms for cancer or HIV. Nothing, because again, I was in a complete different mental space. So I actually went to go get tested for HIV, and I got tested. Found out later on, during that time while I was there getting tested, came back positive. My emotions, immediately I went from in denial to being very upset and angry to then becoming sad to then coping myself along with it being okay and being content. And I only ended up becoming content in the matter as a last feeling because whom I got tested by, they said, think about it like this. It's something that you will have to deal with the rest of your life. However, it won't kill you. So as long as you make sure you take care of yourself, take your medications that you're prescribed, and you make sure you're on a good, good diet, and you can keep active, physically active as well. Just make sure you keep on top of your medication. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. Moving forward, I had, of course, first informed my partner. I called him up and actually didn't inform him right away. I told him that we need to have a serious conversation. We need to have a sit down when I get home because, there was just something he needed to know. So when I got home, I made him aware that I took a test and that it came back positive. He didn't exactly have a good reaction, obviously, as nobody close to you would have a good reaction to news like that. He was very sad, and he became mildly depressed about it because he felt like it was his fault. I partially blamed him for the matter because after he told me there were certain things that he knew he could have done and taken responsibility for, and it was obviously too late in the matter, I told him, I take part in this too. It takes two people in this situation, specifically in this situation, and me becoming aware of it. I should have been more careful myself. I should have done research, for myself, if not for you, for myself, my own case, because you already have it. I did not at the time, and I should have been more responsible in my case and not put all the responsibility on you into making sure I should be good. The only thing for me was, okay, how do I move forward? Following that, I went through a appointment with the doctor, of course, scheduled that, went through all the resources of, okay, scheduling the doctor after I was referred, then going through labs. That's the whole thing within itself. And then figuring out, what kind of medication will work. The people that I told immediately, which were very, very close friends at the time, and my very close cousins that I told only at that time, were very supportive of me and, emotionally supportive. And I really thank them for that. But a lot of people that I knew did not have that same support. And I felt really bad. And, for those here and now who are in that situation, who don't feel that they have that support, or who aren't literally getting that support, I want to, be that support for you, because no one should have to go through this alone. Everyone's very supportive of me, and it was just me in my mind. I said, okay, how do I go forward after this relationship? Because granted, I wasn't intending on breaking up with my partner. That was in his mind, but I told him no, and it wasn't in my mind initially. But I said, what if one day we end up coming to an ending point and I have to, move on into another relationship in the future sometime, not immediately, obviously, but, sometime given in the future. Who is going to love me? Who is going to take on, me being positive? Yes, I took on, someone who was positive, and I really want to say take on, but I took on the truth of knowing, someone being blunt and honest with me on being positive, but not everyone is like me. That was going on in my mind. And also during this time, it was just a different time than now. So it was a whole lot of self-doubt. Going forward in life, a year later, I told my parents, who were also very supportive. Now, I had to educate them on me and what was already going on, of course, a year later. And I only took this time to do that and tell more of my family, just because I wanted to educate myself as much as I could prior to telling them at all. So they knew I was okay. I was confident in myself enough to let them know that. Later on, I just got further into research and knowing how I can continue taking care of myself. And I feel that that's something that everyone who finds out they're positive should be doing. Not only going by their doctor's orders, but just do their own research, because it is important. I just want you to know that it is okay to be positive, okay? Embrace it, embrace that, okay? It takes steps. Again, you have to be fully confident in yourself and know in yourself it is okay before you can really, put that out there to anyone else. And no, I'm not saying you gotta be blunt and vocal to the world about it as I am, that you're positive. You can keep it, into a circle that you trust. It does not have to be in this kind of way. But just put it out there that it is okay. If you know someone who is HIV positive, who has AIDS, please share this and let them know that it is okay, and love them unconditionally, and let them know it is okay to love themselves with this part of themselves, to love themselves unconditionally. A lot of people go through being kicked out of their homes, or can't make a way for themselves because of them being HIV positive, and letting their family or friends know, because they don't end up getting that support that they thought they would. Depending on where you are, you may find some resources and, housing assistance, or even assistance with food, of course, assistance with medications and treatments, assistance with a therapist, a mental therapist, to help guide you and go through this. So, you're not alone. Unfortunately, it's not in every single country. It's not in every single city, province. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But day to day, this world is growing at the same time to gain those resources for people who are positive. It used to be where you had to take multiple pills. And even before then, it was no pill at all. It was, okay, I have it, and it escalates to AIDS, to where eventually, people who've had it end up passing up to life. So we've really come a long way, with HIV and AIDS. Enjoyed having this chat, love. Until next time, peace.